I never thought my own son would shove
I
me so
understand.
violently at the Christmas dinner table that I'd
Please tell
fall to
me
the floor
everything
in
that
front of the
happened.
entire family, all so his father-in-law could take my place. What Nathan didn't know was that on that very night, I would change his life forever. When he woke up the next day, 47 missed calls would be waiting for him, because sometimes consequences arrive when you least expect them. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell because we have new stories every day. Leave a like and tell us in the comments which city you're watching from. My name is Evelyn Jackson. I'm 68 years old, and I spent my entire life building a business empire from scratch. I lost my beloved husband Robert 5 years ago, and since then, my son Nathan became the most important thing in my world. Well, that's what I thought until the night of December 24th, 2024. That afternoon, I arrived at Nathan's house with a heart full of joy. I had bought special gifts for my grandchildren, Tyler and Emma, and brought a $300 bottle of wine I'd been saving for a special occasion. The house was decorated with golden lights, and the aroma of roast lamb filled the air. Everything seemed perfect for a family night. "Grandma Evelyn!" the children shouted as they ran toward me. Tyler, at 15, was already taller than me, while Emma, 12, still clung to my neck like she did when she was little. Their sincere hugs were the only moment of genuine happiness I would experience that night. Rebecca, my daughter-in-law, greeted me with a forced smile. There was always something in her eyes that made me uncomfortable, as if she measured every word I said. "Hi, Evelyn. So glad you got here early." Nathan appeared from the kitchen, but his greeting was distant, almost mechanical. "Hey, Mom, just leave your coat there." I noticed something strange in the atmosphere. There was a tension I couldn't quite identify. The table was set for 8 people, but there were only 6 of us. Nathan, Rebecca, the kids, me, and we were waiting for someone else. "Is someone else coming?" I asked, looking at the extra place setting. "Yes, my father will be here in a moment," Rebecca answered with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She was referring to William Bennett, a 72-year-old businessman who had always been my silent competitor in the business world. When William arrived, everything changed. Nathan completely transformed, becoming helpful and attentive in a way I had never seen with me. "Mr. Bennett, what a pleasure to have you here. Come in, come in." I thought it was strange, but I decided to ignore it. After all, it was Christmas, and I wanted to enjoy it with my family. We sat down at the table, and I took my usual spot, the one that had always been mine at family celebrations, at the head of the table next to Nathan. I had sat in that seat for years, ever since Robert passed away, and family dinners moved to my son's house. But as William approached, Nathan looked at me with an expression I will never forget. Cold, calculating, ruthless. "Mom, I need you to get up from there." "What?" I asked, confused. "Why?" "That seat is for Mr. Bennett. He's the guest of honor." I felt like I'd been slapped across the face. "Nathan, son, I've always sat here. It's my place in this family." The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Rebecca was looking down, uncomfortable. The kids had stopped talking. William stood there watching the scene with a mix of awkwardness and satisfaction. "Mom, don't make this difficult. Move." "I don't understand, Nathan. What's going on here?" That's when it happened. Nathan walked over to me, put his hands on my shoulders, and pushed me with such force that I lost my balance. My 68-year-old body couldn't handle the force, and I crashed heavily to the floor in front of the entire family. The silence that followed was deafening. The children screamed my name. Rebecca brought her hands to her mouth. William remained motionless, but I saw something in his eyes that chilled me to the bone. Satisfaction. From the floor, hurt and humiliated, I heard the words that would change everything forever. "This seat belongs to my father-in-law. Get out." In that moment, as I lay on the cold tile floor, something inside me broke. Not just my dignity, but something much deeper. The image I had of my son, the unconditional love I felt for him, crumbled like a house of cards. The kids helped me up, their faces filled with confusion and pain. "Are you okay, Grandma?" Emma whispered with tears in her eyes. "I'm fine, sweetie," I lied, stroking her hair. But inside, a storm had begun to brew. Nathan had already taken his seat at the table as if nothing had happened. William occupied my chair without a word. Rebecca served dinner with nervous movements, avoiding my gaze. I sat in a side chair like a second-class guest in what used to be my own family. During the entire dinner, I watched how Nathan spoke to William with a respect he had never shown me. I watched how Rebecca hung on every word of the man who now sat in my place. I watched how my grandchildren looked at me with sadness, unable to understand why their father had humiliated their grandmother. And as I watched, I made a decision that would change our lives forever. The dinner proceeded in a tense atmosphere that felt as thick as smoke. Every bite tasted like betrayal. Every laugh shared between Nathan and William pierced my soul like sharp daggers. My grandkids tried to fill the silence with innocent comments about their schoolwork, but even they could sense that something fundamental had changed in our family dynamic. "Tyler got straight A's this semester," I commented, trying to reclaim some normalcy amidst the emotional chaos boiling inside me. "Oh, right," Nathan replied without even looking at me, completely focused on cutting the meat he was serving to William. "Mr. Bennett, is the lamb cooked to your liking?" It was as if I had become invisible. For 42 years I had raised this man. I had taught him values, principles, given him everything I had and more, and now he was treating me like an annoying stranger at his own table. When we finished dinner, I excused myself discreetly. "I'm just going to the restroom for a moment." No one replied. They didn't even look up from their glasses of brandy and their business conversations, in which I, the woman who had built the family company from nothing, was not included. I walked to the bathroom with slow steps, but my mind was already racing at top speed. Once inside, I locked the door and looked at myself in the mirror. The woman staring back at me had reddened eyes, not from tears, but from a cold anger that was beginning to crystallize into pure determination. I took out my cell phone and started dialing numbers I knew by heart. The first call was to Sarah Williams, my personal lawyer for 25 years. Her sleepy voice answered on the fourth ring. "Evelyn, it's Christmas Eve. What's the emergency?" "Sarah, I need you to prepare documents first thing tomorrow morning to revoke all the powers of attorney Nathan has in the company. All of them, without exception." There was a long pause. Sarah knew my business structure perfectly. "Evelyn, are you sure? That would mean—" "I know exactly what it means. I also want you to cancel every financial guarantee I've co-signed for him. The house, the car, the corporate credit cards, everything." "What happened?" "My son just showed me who he really is, and I'm about to show him who I am." The second call was to James Reynolds, my accountant and CFO. He also knew every financial move the family made. "James, I'm sorry to bother you on a holiday. I need you to freeze all joint accounts with Nathan first thing in the morning. Also suspend his salary and executive benefits." "Is there a legal problem, Mrs. Jackson?" "No, James, I'm just taking back control of what belongs to me." The third call was the most important. I dialed the number of Marcus Thompson, my second in command at the company, a loyal man who had been with me since the beginning. "Marcus, forgive the hour. Could you go to the office early tomorrow morning? I need you to remove all of Nathan's personal belongings from his office." "Are you firing him, boss?" "He is no longer the CEO. You will take his position starting tomorrow. Prepare an immediate termination letter. Justifiable cause, loss of confidence." "Understood, Mrs. Jackson. Anything else?" "Yes. Place a note on his desk that says, This office is not for you. I want him to understand the message perfectly. After the calls, I stayed in the bathroom for a few more minutes, mentally organizing every move I would make. I wasn't seeking revenge. I was seeking justice. For decades, I had built a business empire. I had sacrificed personal time. I had worked 18-hour days to give my family a comfortable life, and my own son had just shown me that all that effort wasn't even worth his basic respect. I returned to the dining room with a calm smile that hid the storm raging inside me. The conversation continued without me, as if I had never existed. "The European markets are very volatile," William commented, gesturing with his cognac glass. "Exactly," Nathan agreed enthusiastically. "That's why we believe a merger between our companies could be very beneficial." Those words hit me like a lightning bolt. A merger? They were planning to merge my company, my life's work, with William's, without even consulting me. "A merger?" I asked in a controlled voice. Nathan looked at me as if he'd forgotten I was still there. "Oh yeah, Mom. Mr. Bennett and I have been discussing expansion possibilities for the company. Don't you think the CEO and founder should be part of those discussions?" My voice was calm but pointed. "Well, technically I'm the CEO," he replied with an arrogant smirk I had never seen on his face. "Technically," I repeated slowly, savoring each syllable. "I see," William intervened with his slow, calculating voice. "Evelyn, you understand that modern business requires fresh approaches. Nathan has innovative ideas." "I'm sure he does," I replied, maintaining my composure while mentally noting every word for the coming reckoning. The kids had gone up to their rooms after dessert, oblivious to the drama unfolding among the adults. Rebecca was clearing the plates with mechanical movements, clearly uncomfortable but not daring to interfere in the conversation. "I think it's time for me to leave," I finally announced, getting up from the side chair where I had been exiled. "Sure, Mom, get some rest," Nathan replied without looking up from his cigar. He didn't even bother to walk me to the door. It was Tyler who came running down the stairs when he heard I was leaving. "Are you leaving already, Grandma? I thought you were staying later like you always do." "No, kiddo. I have important things to do tonight." "Are you upset about what happened at dinner?" My grandson's question pierced my heart. Even a teenager had sensed the injustice of the situation. "I'm not upset, Tyler. I'm disappointed. But sometimes disappointments teach us important truths." "I don't understand." "You will soon, son. I love you very much. Always remember that." I left that house feeling strangely liberated. The cold December air filled my lungs as I walked to my car. In the driver's seat, before starting the engine, I took out my phone again. I had one last call to make. "Law offices of Lopez and Associates. This is Evelyn Jackson. Forgive me for bothering you on Christmas Eve, but I need to change my will first thing tomorrow." "Yes, it's urgent. Very urgent." As I drove home, a smile formed on my face for the first time all night. Nathan had played his hand, believing he was in control, but he had forgotten one fundamental detail. I was the one who built the game board, and tomorrow he would discover the real rules. I arrived home around midnight, but sleep was the last thing on my mind. While the rest of Chicago celebrated Christmas, I was preparing for the most important battle of my life. I turned on all the lights in my study and spread out every legal document I had accumulated over 4 decades of work on my oak desk. The first task was to meticulously review the company's bylaws. I needed to confirm something I suspected. Nathan never had any actual stock ownership in the company. He was CEO by my appointment, not by right. All his authority depended on my will, and that will had just changed radically. While looking through folders and files, my phone rang. It was James, my accountant. "Mrs. Jackson, I've been reviewing the accounts since we spoke. There's something you need to know urgently." Tell me, James. Nathan has been using the company's financial guarantees for personal expenses far greater than we imagined. The house where he lives has a $600,000 mortgage co-signed by you. His sports car, $120,000. The corporate credit cards, Mrs. Jackson. He owes over $200,000 in personal purchases. The information hit me like an anvil. Is he behind on any payments? Several. Without your guarantees, he will be in immediate default. The banks will begin foreclosure and repossession procedures tomorrow morning if the guarantees are gone. Perfect. Cancel all the guarantees at dawn. Are you absolutely sure? This will ruin his financial situation. James, my son just ruined something much more valuable, our relationship. Now he will learn about consequences. After hanging up, I continued reviewing documents until I found what I was looking for. Nathan's employment contract. Jackson Construction, Inc. paid him a salary of $8,000 a month, plus benefits that included a company car, private health insurance, an expense account, and annual profit sharing. All of that would disappear in a few hours. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I called Marcus. Boss, I haven't been able to sleep thinking about what you asked me to do. Do you really want me to do this? Marcus, do you trust my judgment after all these years? Of course, Mrs. Jackson. You pulled me out of poverty and gave me opportunities I never dreamed of. Then trust me now. Nathan has crossed a line of no return. Go to the office early, remove his personal belongings, and place that note exactly as I told you. Understood. What if he arrives while I'm doing it? Even better. I want him to see how it feels when someone takes his place. At 4 in the morning, I reviewed the financial statements from the last 5 years. What I discovered filled me with a mixture of anger and disappointment. Nathan had been diverting small amounts of money to personal accounts for years. Nothing illegal, but ethically reprehensible. He had used company contacts to secure private contracts. He had collected commissions for recommending suppliers without informing me. My son hadn't just disrespected me that night. He had been systematically betraying my trust for years. At 5 in the morning, I called my lawyer, Sarah. Evelyn, I've been preparing the documents you requested, but I must warn you, this will have immediate legal consequences. Nathan could sue you for wrongful termination. Sarah, I have proof of misuse of funds, improper use of corporate resources, and undeclared conflicts of interest. Do you think he wants to go to court? I understand. The documents will be ready at 8 o'clock sharp. Perfect. Also, prepare the papers to transfer ownership of the Lakeshore Drive apartment that's in Nathan's name. It was a wedding gift, but it's registered as a family loan. I want it back. The apartment where he currently lives? Exactly. Let him learn to pay rent like any normal person. At 6 o'clock in the morning, while making coffee, I received a text message from Emma, my granddaughter. Grandma, Dad is very nervous. He's been on the phone all night. Is everything okay? I replied, Everything will be fine, sweetie. Your grandmother loves you very much. At 7 in the morning, it was time to make the most satisfying call of the entire operation. Chicago National Bank, this is Evelyn Jackson. I need to immediately cancel all financial guarantees I've co-signed for Nathan E. Jackson. Yes, all of them. Mortgage loans, credit cards, everything. Mrs. Jackson, that will mean the payments will be called in immediately against the primary debtor. I'm perfectly aware. Proceed. Very well. The cancellation documents will be processed within the hour. Should I inform Mr. Jackson? That won't be necessary. He'll find out very soon. At 8 in the morning, Sarah arrived at my house with all the prepared documents. I signed each paper with steely determination. Cancellation of executive powers, revocation of banking authority, immediate termination of directorial duties, recovery of family assets provided as a loan. Evelyn, once you sign this, there's no going back. Sarah, a few hours ago, my son pushed me to the floor in front of my grandchildren to give my seat to another man. Do you think there's any going back? I signed the last document at 8:30 a.m. At 9 o'clock, I called Marcus to confirm that everything was ready at the office. Boss, I've already removed all his things. His computer, his diplomas, even the plant he had by the window. It's all in boxes in the storage room. And the note? Placed exactly in the center of his desk, just as you asked. Perfect. When he arrives, let him in normally. Don't explain anything. Let him discover the situation for himself. At 9:30, I received confirmation from James. Mrs. Jackson, all guarantees have been officially canceled. The banks will begin execution proceedings starting at 10 a.m. At 5 minutes to 10, I put on my best suit. Today was no ordinary day. It was the day Nathan E. Jackson would discover what the word consequences truly meant. I poured myself one last cup of coffee and watched the sunrise from my study window. After a sleepless night, I felt strangely energized. There was no trace of the sadness or pain from a few hours before, only a crystal-clear clarity about what needed to be done. My phone was on silent, but I could see the notifications piling up on the screen. Messages, missed calls, emails. The storm had begun. Nathan was about to wake up to the worst day of his life, and I would be waiting to see his reaction when he finally understood that actions have consequences, and that underestimating his mother had been the costliest mistake of his existence. The war had begun, and I held all the weapons. Nathan woke up that morning, December 25th, with a strange feeling in his stomach. It wasn't a hangover from the previous night's brandy, but something deeper, as if his subconscious had picked up on danger signals his conscious mind hadn't yet processed. Rebecca was already up, mechanically making breakfast for the kids. The atmosphere in the house felt tense, charged with an invisible electricity that no one mentioned, but everyone felt. "Did you sleep well?" Rebecca asked without looking at him, focused on pouring orange juice. "Not really," Nathan replied, checking his phone. He had 3 missed calls from unknown numbers, probably telemarketers taking advantage of the holidays. What he didn't know was that at that very moment, as he ate breakfast peacefully, several Chicago banks had already initiated their collateral recovery protocols. The banking systems had automatically processed the cancellation of the guarantees in the early hours of the morning. At 10:15 a.m., Nathan received the first real call. "Mr. Jackson, this is Monica Castillo from Chicago National Bank. We need you to contact us urgently regarding your mortgage." "What's wrong? My mortgage is completely up to date." "Sir, the primary guarantee on your loan was canceled this morning. Without that guarantee, the loan is automatically in a state of immediate demand for payment." Nathan felt a rush of ice-cold water run down his spine. "What guarantee? What are you talking about?" "The guarantee signed by Mrs. Evelyn Jackson. Without it, you must pay the full debt, or we will proceed with foreclosure." The call ended, and Nathan stood there with the phone in his hand, trying to process the information. Before he could fully react, it rang again. "Mr. Nathan Jackson, First Midwest Bank Risk Department. Your corporate line of credit has been suspended due to cancellation of guarantees. You must report to our offices immediately." He hung up, and the phone immediately rang again. "United Bank, your business credit card has been blocked." Another incoming call. "Chase Bank, initiating preventive asset seizure proceedings." And another. "U.S. Bank, immediate execution of vehicle repossession order." In 15 minutes, Nathan received exactly 47 calls from different banks, insurance companies, car dealerships, and corporate suppliers. His financial world was crumbling in real time while he stood in his kitchen, still in his pajamas. Rebecca watched the scene with growing horror. "What is happening, Nathan? Why so many calls?" "I don't know," he mumbled, but deep down a terrible suspicion was starting to form. His mother's words from the night before echoed in his memory. Technically, I'm the CEO. At 11:15 a.m., he decided to go to the company immediately. He needed to understand what was happening, and more importantly, he needed access to corporate resources to handle this unexpected crisis. He drove his BMW 7 Series through the empty Christmas streets of Chicago, not knowing it would be one of the last times he'd be behind the wheel of that car. The dealership had already received orders to repossess it for non-payment of the lease. He arrived at the Jackson Construction Building at 11:30. The security guard greeted him normally, showing no sign that anything had changed. Nathan took the elevator to the 5th floor where his CEO office was located. As he stepped out of the elevator, he noticed something strange. Marcus Thompson was in his office, sitting behind his desk, reviewing documents that clearly belonged to the executive files. "Marcus, what are you doing in my office?" Marcus looked up with an expression that was uncomfortable but firm. "Good morning, Nathan. Well, this isn't your office anymore." "What do you mean it's not my office? What are you talking about?" "Read the letter on the desk." Nathan walked over and saw it placed exactly in the center of the wooden surface, a handwritten note in his mother's unmistakable script. "This office is not for you." The words hit him like physical blows. It was the same phrase he had used the night before, now turned against him. He felt his knees go weak. "Marcus, this has to be a joke." "It's not a joke, Nathan. Mrs. Jackson appointed me CEO this morning. You have 5 minutes to collect your personal items from the storage room and leave the building." "This is impossible. I am the CEO. I've spent years building this company with my mother." "Not anymore, Nathan. The termination papers are officially filed. Justifiable cause. Loss of confidence and conflict of interest." Nathan felt the world spin around him. He pulled out his phone to call his mother, but before he could dial, Marcus handed him a sealed envelope. "Mrs. Jackson asked me to give you this." With trembling hands, Nathan opened the envelope. Inside was a typed letter on company letterhead. "Nathan, the consequences of our actions sometimes arrive when we least expect them. Last night you showed me that my place in your life no longer exists. Today I am showing you that your place in my company doesn't either. You have until noon to vacate any property that is in my name. The Lakeshore Drive apartment, the car, everything. You will learn to live on your own resources, as you should have years ago. Do not look for me. Do not call me. Do not try to use intermediaries. This decision is final and irrevocable. Your mother, who no longer recognizes you, Evelyn Jackson." Nathan read the letter 3 times before the words fully penetrated his understanding. It wasn't just the job. It was everything. His home, his car, his lifestyle, his financial security. It had all vanished in a single morning. "Marcus, you have to help me. You've known my mother for years. This is just some temporary madness." "Nathan, I saw what you did to her last night. My own wife was disgusted when I told her. Mrs. Jackson is the fairest person I know, but also the most determined. When she makes a decision, there's no going back. But I'm her son, her only son. You were her son. Last night you chose to be something else." Nathan walked out of the corporate building like a sleepwalker. In the parking lot, he found a tow truck hooking up his BMW. The driver showed him a court order for repossession due to non-payment. Wait, there must be a mistake." "No mistake, sir. The lease is in default and has no guarantor. The vehicle is being repossessed immediately." Nathan had to walk to the nearest subway station, something he hadn't done in years. During the ride home, his phone never stopped ringing. Banks, creditors, suppliers, all demanding immediate payment. When he finally arrived at his apartment, he found Rebecca crying on the sofa, holding a legal notice. "Nathan, we have 24 hours to leave the house. They're going to foreclose on the mortgage." "What?" "Your mother canceled all the guarantees. We owe $600,000 that we don't have. Nathan sank into a chair, completely defeated. In less than 12 hours, he had lost his job, his car, his home, and his financial stability. And worst of all, he had lost his mother. The words he had spoken the night before now echoed like a curse. This seat belongs to my father-in-law. Get out. Now he was the one who was out. Of everything. Nathan spent the next 2 hours trying to process the sheer scale of the disaster that had just consumed his life. Rebecca alternated between hysterical crying and bitter reproaches as she desperately packed their most valuable belongings before the eviction. "This is your fault," she screamed, stuffing jewelry into a suitcase. "How could you be so stupid? Shoving your own mother in front of the children?" "Rebecca, calm down. This can be fixed. I just need to talk to her." "Talk? Nathan, they've taken everything from us. The house, the car, your job. What are we going to tell my parents?" That question hit Nathan like a slap. William Bennett, his father-in-law, had been an eyewitness to the humiliation he had inflicted on Evelyn. If there was one thing William valued above all else, it was family respect and matriarchal dignity. Nathan picked up his phone with trembling hands and dialed his father-in-law's number. He needed support, an ally, someone to intercede for him. "William, it's Nathan. I need to talk to you urgently." The voice that answered was as cold as winter ice. "Nathan, I was expecting your call." "William, something terrible has happened. My mother has lost her mind. She's taken everything from me over a meaningless family argument. I need your help." There was a long, blood-chilling silence. "A meaningless argument? Nathan, did you hear what you just said?" "Well, It was just a misunderstanding. You know how these things are between mothers and sons." "No, Nathan, I don't know, because I would never have disrespected my mother the way you disrespected yours last night." Nathan felt panic begin to grip him. "William, please. Rebecca and the children need stability. I know you can understand." "What I understand perfectly is that I witnessed a 42-year-old man publicly humiliate the mother who gave him everything. I saw you push Evelyn to the floor to give me a seat that I never asked for nor wanted. I thought you would appreciate the gesture of respect." "Respect?" William's voice was filled with contempt. "You don't build respect by disrespecting others, especially not your own mother." Nathan could hear the growing disdain in William's voice. His last resort was vanishing before his eyes. "William, we're family. Rebecca is your daughter. The kids are your grandchildren." "Exactly. And for that very reason, I cannot allow my grandchildren to grow up thinking that kind of behavior is acceptable. Rebecca and the children will always have my support. But you, Nathan, have shown that you are someone who cannot be trusted." "What do you mean?" "I mean that any man capable of betraying his own mother is capable of betraying anyone. There will be no financial support from me, no job in my companies, no shelter in my home." Nathan felt his legs give way. "You can't be serious." "I have never been more serious in my life. Furthermore, I have decided to contact Evelyn to offer her a personal apology for having been an unwilling witness to your deplorable behavior." "You're going to apologize to her?" "Of course. A woman of her caliber did not deserve that humiliation, especially in front of her family. And I'm also going to offer her a business partnership." William's words struck Nathan like hammer blows. Not only had he lost his father-in-law's support, but now William was aligning himself directly with his mother. "William, please reconsider." "I have reconsidered, Nathan, and my conclusion is clear. Evelyn Jackson is the kind of woman I want to do business with. You are not." The line went dead, leaving Nathan with the silent phone in his hand. Rebecca had heard the entire conversation from the doorway. All the color had drained from her face. "My father isn't going to help us," she whispered. "No." "What are we going to do, Nathan?" Where are we going to live? The kids have school. I have my job. I don't know, Rebecca. I just don't know. At that moment, Tyler and Emma came down the stairs, alerted by the raised voices and the chaos of suitcases and boxes all over the house. What's going on? Tyler asked with the worry of a teenager who senses his world is changing. Why is Mom crying? Emma added in a small voice. Are we moving? Nathan looked at his children and felt a pang of shame deeper than anything he'd experienced so far. How was he going to explain to them that because of his pride and stupidity, their entire family's stability had disappeared? Kids, we need to talk, Rebecca began, her voice breaking. Is it because of what happened last night with Grandma? Tyler asked directly. The question showed that even the teenager had understood the gravity of what happened better than Nathan himself. Yes, son, it is. Dad, why did you push Grandma? Emma asked, tears in her eyes. She looked so sad. Nathan couldn't answer. The words were stuck in his throat. Grandma loves us so much, Emma continued. She always brings us gifts and tells us stories. Why were you mean to her? I thought what, Dad? Tyler insisted. Because it looked like you hated her. I don't hate your grandmother. But you treated her like you did, Tyler retorted with a maturity that broke his heart. And now she must hate us too. No, son, she loves you. She would never hurt you. Then why can't we stay in our house? Why is Mom packing everything? Nathan sank onto the sofa, utterly defeated. His own children were judging him, and they were right to do so. Because Dad made a very big mistake, he finally admitted. A mistake that's going to change our lives. Can you say sorry to Grandma? Emma asked with the innocence of a child who still believes adult problems can be solved with a sincere apology. It's too late for that, sweetie. Rebecca came over and sat next to him. For the first time all day, her voice held not reproach, but a deep sadness. Nathan, I need you to understand something. The kids and I are moving in with my parents. What? I can't stay with you after this. I can't be with someone who is capable of humiliating his own mother like that. Rebecca, we're a family. No, Nathan. A family is built on respect and values. You proved last night that you have neither. Nathan looked at his wife, his children, the suitcases, the eviction notice on the table. In 24 hours, he had destroyed his entire life over a moment of stupid arrogance. And the worst part was his mother was right. He had brought this all on himself. The consequences had arrived, and they were far more devastating than he could have ever imagined. The afternoon of December 25th became the longest and most painful of Nathan's life. While Rebecca meticulously packed the children's belongings, he desperately tried to find a solution to his catastrophic financial situation. His bank accounts had been preventively frozen due to outstanding debts. His primary credit card was blocked. The ATM denied him even the $50 he tried to withdraw from his personal account. He had only $300 cash in his wallet, all that was left of his former financial life. Where are you going to sleep tonight? Rebecca asked him as she closed the last of the kids' suitcases. I don't know. Maybe some cheap hotel until I can get myself together. Nathan, look at me. Rebecca stopped and confronted him directly. Do you really think you can get yourself together after this? Your mother is not someone who acts on impulse. This was calculated to be permanent. She's my mother, Rebecca. Eventually she'll have to forgive me. Like you forgave her when she made mistakes? Oh, wait. She never made mistakes with you. She was always perfect, generous, understanding, and this is how you repay her. Rebecca's words cut deeper than any external reproach because they held an undeniable truth. Evelyn had been an exemplary mother, and Nathan had responded with ingratitude and contempt. At 6 p.m., the moving truck Rebecca had hired arrived to transport their belongings to her parents' house. The children watched their toys and furniture being moved with a quiet sadness that was heartbreaking. "Is Dad coming with us?" Emma asked as they loaded her pink bicycle. "No, sweetie. Dad has to fix some problems first." "When is he going to fix them?" Rebecca looked at Nathan with an expression that held years of accumulated disappointment. "We don't know, Emma." Tyler, more direct like a typical teenager, confronted his father bluntly. "Dad, are you going to be homeless because of what you did to Grandma?" It's more complicated than that, son." "Doesn't seem complicated to me. You were mean to her, and now she's being mean to you. It's like at school. If you hit someone, you get punished." The brutal simplicity of Tyler's observation showed that even a teenager understood the logic of cause and effect better than Nathan had. By 8 p.m., Nathan found himself alone in an empty house that was no longer his, with $300 in cash and a suitcase of basic clothes. The rest of his belongings were in boxes in the company's storage room under Marcus's custody. He walked out onto the street and wandered aimlessly through the Christmas-lit avenues of Chicago. Families strolled happily. Children ran with new toys. Couples hugged against the winter cold. Everyone seemed to have a home to return to except him. He found a cheap hotel near Union Station where he could pay for a room for 3 nights for $200. He had $100 left for food and transport. The room was small with a single bed, a tiny bathroom, and a window overlooking a dark alley. He sat on the bed and contemplated the magnitude of his personal destruction. His phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Nathan Jackson." "Yes. This is Mark Delgado from the law firm Delgado & Associates. Your mother has retained me to officially notify you that any attempt at direct or indirect contact with her will be considered harassment." "What?" "Mrs. Jackson has been very clear. She does not wish to receive calls, messages, visits, or intermediaries from you. Any violation of this instruction will result in a court-ordered restraining order. She's my mother. Mr. Jackson, legally, Mrs. Evelyn Jackson has the right to decide who she maintains a relationship with. Her decision is final." The call ended, leaving Nathan with the final understanding that his mother had not only punished him financially, but had completely cut off any possibility of reconciliation. He looked at himself in the hotel bathroom mirror. The man staring back looked like he had aged 10 years in one day. Deep dark circles and an unshaven face, wrinkled clothes. He looked exactly like what he was, someone who had lost everything because of his own stupidity. And while Nathan was confronting his new reality, I was sitting in my study, staring at the Christmas tree I had decorated just days ago with such hopeful expectations. The house felt emptier than ever. The initial rush of decisive action had given way to a hollow feeling that echoed through my chest. Had I gone too far? The thought flickered briefly in my mind before I dismissed it. No, Nathan needed to understand that actions have consequences, real painful consequences. He was 42, not 12. This wasn't a temper tantrum that could be forgiven with a simple apology. My phone rang. It was Sarah, my lawyer. "Evelyn, the documents have all been processed. Nathan has been officially removed from all company positions and access. The apartment recovery process has been initiated." "Thank you, Sarah. Are you okay?" I paused, considering the question. "I will be." After hanging up, I walked to the family room where photos of Nathan lined the shelves. Nathan at his college graduation, Nathan at his wedding, Nathan holding Tyler as a newborn. Years of love and shared memories stared back at me. For a moment, my resolve wavered. Then I remembered the look in his eyes as he pushed me to the floor, the cold calculation, the utter lack of respect. The memory strengthened my resolve. My concern turned to my grandchildren. They were innocent in all of this, and yet they would suffer from the fallout. I needed to ensure they understood that my actions against their father had nothing to do with my love for them. I picked up my phone and called William Bennett. If anyone could help me navigate this situation with the children, it would be Rebecca's father, who had witnessed everything. To my surprise, he answered immediately, his voice formal but not unfriendly. "Mrs. Jackson, I've been hoping you would call." Mr. Bennett, I wanted to speak with you about the children." "Of course. But first, I owe you a sincere apology for what happened in your son's home. What Nathan did was unacceptable, and I want you to know that I neither expected nor approved of his behavior." His words caught me off guard. I had expected politeness, perhaps even sympathy, but not a direct apology. "Thank you, Mr. Bennett. I appreciate that. Please call me William. And if I may be bold, I'd like to meet with you in person. There are matters we should discuss, both personal and professional." I hesitated. William Bennett had been my business rival for years, but he had also been witness to my humiliation, and now he was offering what seemed like genuine respect. "Very well. When would you like to meet?" "Tomorrow morning? I know it's the day after Christmas, but under the circumstances, tomorrow is fine. My office at 10 a.m. "Perfect. And Evelyn, what you did was entirely justified. I want you to know that." After ending the call, I sat in silence, contemplating this unexpected turn of events. William Bennett, my longtime business competitor, was now potentially an ally. Life had a way of creating the strangest partnerships. That evening, I received a tearful call from Emma. "Grandma, are you mad at us, too?" My heart broke at the fear in her little voice. "No, sweetheart, not at all. I love you and Tyler more than anything in the world." "But you're mad at Daddy." "Your father and I have adult problems, Emma. It has nothing to do with you or your brother. We're staying at Grandpa William's house. Dad is staying somewhere else. Mom is crying a lot." I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of the family fracture. "Emma, I want you to know that no matter what happens between the adults, you can always call me. I'll always be your grandmother, and I'll always love you. Promise?" "I promise, sweetheart." "When can we see you?" I hadn't thought that far ahead. "Soon, Emma. Very soon." After hanging up, I made another difficult decision. I picked up the phone and called Rebecca. "Evelyn." Her voice was cold, cautious. "Rebecca, I understand you're staying at your parents' house with the children." "Yes." "I want you to know that my issue is with Nathan, not with you or the children. I would like to maintain my relationship with my grandchildren." There was a long pause. "I don't know, Evelyn. Everything is so complicated now. The children shouldn't suffer because of the mistakes of adults. They need stability, and whether we like it or not, I'm still their grandmother." Another pause. "My father said something similar. He actually defended what you did." "I'm meeting with your father tomorrow." "I know. He told me." She sighed. "I'll talk to the kids. Maybe you can see them this weekend." It wasn't the enthusiastic agreement I'd hoped for, but it was a start. "Thank you, Rebecca." The next morning, I dressed with particular care for my meeting with William. This wasn't merely a personal discussion. It had business implications as well. I chose a tailored navy suit that projected both authority and elegance. When I arrived at my office, Marcus was waiting with the daily reports. "Mrs. Jackson, Nathan tried to access the building again this morning. Security escorted him out as per your instructions." "How did he seem?" "Desperate, angry. He mentioned something about needing files from his computer." I nodded. "Continue with the protocol. No access, no exceptions." At precisely 10 a.m., William arrived, looking impeccable in a charcoal gray suit. He carried a leather portfolio and had the bearing of a man accustomed to being listened to. "Evelyn, thank you for meeting with me," he said, shaking my hand firmly. "Please sit down. Would you like some coffee?" "Black, thank you." After the coffee was served and we had exchanged pleasantries, William got straight to the point. "I want to apologize again for my unwitting role in what happened at Christmas dinner. Had I known Nathan's intentions, I would never have attended." "You couldn't have known?" "Perhaps not, but I should have intervened the moment he pushed you. I was stunned into inaction, and for that, I'm sorry." I studied him carefully. William Bennett had a reputation for being ruthless in business, yet here he was, expressing what seemed like genuine remorse. "William, what exactly are you hoping to accomplish with this meeting?" He smiled slightly. "Direct. I've always admired that about you, Evelyn. The truth is, I've been watching your company's progress for years. You've built something remarkable, a female-led construction firm that consistently outperforms male-dominated competitors, including mine. Flattery, William? Acknowledgement. And an opportunity." He opened his portfolio and placed a document on my desk. "I'd like to propose a partnership between Bennett Development and Jackson Construction. Not a merger, not an acquisition, but a true collaboration." I raised an eyebrow. "You realize that until yesterday, your son-in-law was planning to merge my company with yours without my knowledge or consent?" "Nathan's plan was foolish and disrespectful. My proposal is entirely different." He tapped the document. "Equal partners, shared resources, combined expertise. We could dominate the Chicago market." "And this has nothing to do with what happened to Nathan?" William leaned back. "It has everything and nothing to do with Nathan. The business proposal stands on its own merits. But yes, witnessing your son's behavior and your response to it showed me something important about you, Evelyn. You're not just a successful businesswoman. You're someone who understands that respect must be earned and maintained. That's the kind of partner I want." I picked up the document, skimming its contents. The terms were surprisingly favorable. "I'll need time to review this with my team." "Of course. Take all the time you need." As he stood to leave, William hesitated. "There's one more thing. The grandchildren. Rebecca is struggling with all this. I've suggested that maintaining their relationship with you is essential." "Thank you for that. They're innocent in all this, and they adore you." After William left, I sat for a long time, contemplating this unexpected turn of events. The man who had been my competitor for years was now offering a business partnership and potentially a personal alliance as well. Life had a strange way of opening new doors when others slammed shut. Three weeks had passed since Christmas night, and Nathan's world had shrunk to dimensions he never thought possible. After his hotel money ran out, he had spent 3 nights sleeping in his car before it was repossessed. With nowhere else to go and no friends willing to risk Evelyn's wrath by taking him in, he had swallowed his pride and applied for a bed at a men's shelter. The shelter was clean but sparse, with rows of single beds separated by thin partitions. Nathan, who once had a corner office with a view of Lake Michigan, now stored his remaining possessions in a small locker. The man who had pushed his mother to the floor for a seat at the table now waited in line for a place to sleep. Finding employment proved nearly impossible. Every construction firm in Chicago knew Evelyn Jackson, and none would risk hiring her disgraced son. His resume, once impressive, now worked against him as potential employers recognized his name. On a cold January morning after his 10th rejection in a week, Nathan found himself sitting on a bench outside a coffee shop, counting his remaining dollars. He had $27 left to his name. The irony wasn't lost on him. The man who had once casually spent hundreds on dinner now worried about affording a cup of coffee. A help wanted sign in the window of a cleaning company caught his eye. Night janitors needed, 14-hour, no experience required. Gloria's cleaning services was housed in a small office in a rundown building. The owner, Gloria Martinez, a stern-looking woman in her 50s, looked Nathan up and down suspiciously. "You're overqualified," she said bluntly after glancing at his resume. "Why would someone with your background want to clean offices at night?" Nathan had prepared for this question. "I've had a personal setback. I need to start over, and I need to start now." Gloria studied him for a long moment. "The work is hard. The hours are long. You'll be cleaning bathrooms and emptying trash cans. Still interested?" "Completely. You start tonight, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Don't be late." That night, dressed in the blue uniform provided by Gloria, Nathan mopped floors, scrubbed toilets, and emptied trash bins in a corporate building downtown. His hands, once manicured for business meetings, developed blisters from the harsh cleaning chemicals. His back, accustomed to ergonomic office chairs, ached from hours of bending and scrubbing. But for the first time in weeks, he earned money through honest work. When Gloria handed him his first night's pay in cash, $112 before taxes, Nathan felt a strange sense of accomplishment. This wasn't charity or a handout. He had earned this through physical labor. As January turned to February, Nathan established a routine. Work nights, sleep days, use the shelter's address for mail, save every penny possible. His co-workers, immigrants, students, single parents working multiple jobs, taught him the tricks of efficient cleaning. How to remove stains from carpet. How to polish brass fixtures without leaving streaks. How to maximize efficiency to finish routes on time. None of them knew his past story. To them, he was just Nathan, the new guy who was a bit awkward with a mop, but worked hard and never complained. On a crisp March afternoon, I found myself driving through downtown Chicago after a successful meeting with potential clients. The partnership with William had been finalized in February, and already our combined resources were opening doors previously closed to either company individually. As I waited at a traffic light, something caught my eye across the street. A man in a blue uniform was washing the windows of an office building. Something about his movements seemed familiar. I squinted, then gasped as recognition dawned. Nathan, my son, once the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, was now washing windows in a janitor's uniform. The light turned green, but I pulled over to the curb, unable to take my eyes off him. He worked methodically, focused entirely on the task, unaware of my presence. His face looked thinner, his body leaner than I remembered. Hard physical labor had reshaped him. A complicated mixture of emotions washed over me. Satisfaction that the consequences I had imposed were having the intended effect. Sadness at seeing my only child reduced to such circumstances. Pride, surprisingly, that he was working honestly rather than trying to scheme his way back to prosperity. I was tempted to approach him, to see his reaction when he recognized me. But what would that accomplish? Our wounds were still too fresh, the breach too wide. Instead, I watched for a few more minutes before driving away, my mind troubled by conflicting feelings. The righteous anger that had fueled my actions on Christmas night had cooled somewhat, replaced by a more complex emotional landscape. That evening, I called Sarah, my lawyer and confidant. "I saw Nathan today." "Where?" "Downtown, washing windows. He's working as a janitor." Sarah was silent for a moment. "How did that make you feel?" "Conflicted. Part of me thinks he deserves this humbling experience. Another part, the mother in me, wants to help him. Evelyn, you did what was necessary. Nathan betrayed your trust repeatedly, culminating in that public humiliation. He needed to face real consequences. I know, but seeing him like that, would you change what you did? I considered the question carefully. No, he needed this lesson. I just didn't expect to feel so torn about it. After hanging up, I walked to the family room where the photos of Nathan still stood. I picked up one of him as a child, smiling broadly with a missing front tooth. Where had that sweet boy gone? When had he transformed into the callous man who pushed his mother to the floor? The grandchildren were my solace during this difficult time. Following our initial agreement, I now saw Tyler and Emma every Saturday. Rebecca would drop them off in the morning and pick them up in the evening, our interactions polite but distant. The children had adjusted to the new reality with remarkable resilience. They never mentioned their father during our time together, a boundary we had all silently agreed upon. Instead, we focused on creating new memories, baking cookies, visiting museums, playing board games. During one of these Saturdays, as Emma helped me plant spring bulbs in the garden, she suddenly asked, "Grandma, are you happy now that Dad is gone?" The question caught me off guard. Emma, it's complicated. I'm not happy that our family is divided, but sometimes adults need space to figure things out. Dad made a big mistake, didn't he? Yes, he did, but people can learn from their mistakes. Will you ever forgive him? I gently brushed soil from her small hands. That depends on a lot of things, sweetheart. For now, let's focus on these tulips. They'll be beautiful in spring. Tyler, at 15, was more direct in his questions. During a chess game one Saturday, he fixed me with a penetrating gaze. "Grandma, do you know where Dad is living?" "No, Tyler, I don't. He's in a shelter downtown. He told Mom when he called last week." I kept my expression neutral, though internally I winced. "I see. He's working as a janitor. Mom says it's good for him to learn what real work is." "Your mother might be right about that." Tyler moved his bishop, capturing my knight. "He seems different when he calls us now. Less, less fake." "Fake?" "Yeah, like before, he always seemed like he was playing a role. Important businessman dad. Now he just seems like a regular person." Out of the mouths of babes, I thought. Tyler had articulated something I hadn't been able to name, the performative quality that had characterized Nathan's adult personality. "That's an interesting observation, Tyler." "Check," he said, moving his queen into position. "I miss him sometimes, but I'm also still mad at him for what he did to you." It's okay to feel both things, Tyler. Emotions are rarely simple. Like you're still mad at Dad, but you probably miss him too? I looked at my grandson's perceptive face and managed a small smile. Something like that. Yeah, one unseasonably warm day in late March, I met William for lunch at a small Italian restaurant we both favored. Our business partnership had blossomed into a genuine friendship built on mutual respect and shared values. "The Peterson contract is all but signed," William said as we studied the menu. "Your team's presentation was exceptional. Marcus deserves the credit. His attention to detail is remarkable." William nodded. "You've built an impressive organization, Evelyn. The loyalty your employees show speaks volumes about your leadership." After we ordered, William hesitated, then broached a more personal subject. "Rebecca mentioned that Nathan has been calling the children regularly." "Yes, Tyler told me. He's living in a shelter downtown and working as a janitor for Gloria Martinez Cleaning Company. I made some inquiries." I raised an eyebrow. "Keeping tabs on him?" "Information is always valuable." William sipped his water. "Gloria says he's a good worker. Never complains, always on time." "That's surprising?" People can change when their circumstances force them to. He studied me carefully. Have you considered what your endgame is with Nathan? Endgame? Yes. Is this punishment permanent, or is there a path to reconciliation at some point? I set down my fork, considering the question. I haven't thought that far ahead. Initially, I was focused solely on consequences. Now, I don't know. Rebecca is struggling with the situation. She's angry with Nathan, but also worried about him. The children miss their father despite everything. What are you suggesting, William? He raised his hands. Nothing specific, just raising the question. Consequences are necessary, but at some point you'll need to decide whether there's a way back for Nathan. Not to his old position, perhaps, but to some place in the family. Would you forgive someone who humiliated you in front of your entire family? William considered this. It would depend on whether I believed they had truly changed, not just their circumstances, but their fundamental understanding of what they did wrong. His words stayed with me long after lunch ended. What would genuine change look like for Nathan? Not just external circumstances, living in a shelter, working as a janitor, but internal transformation. A true understanding of why his actions had been so hurtful and disrespectful. I had no answer yet, but for the first time, I allowed myself to consider the possibility of a future where Nathan might earn his way back, not to his former privileged position, but to some place in my life. In early April, as spring began to soften Chicago's harsh edges, I took a rare afternoon off to enjoy Lincoln Park. The sunshine and fresh air were a welcome respite from the office, where the partnership with William had created a flurry of new projects requiring my attention. As I walked along the path near the pond, a familiar scene stopped me in my tracks. Two men sat on a bench, deep in conversation, architectural plans spread on a folding table between them. William and Nathan. I ducked behind a large oak tree, heart pounding. They hadn't seen me. From my hiding place, I could hear fragments of their conversation. The maintenance schedule needs to be adjusted, William was saying, pointing to something on the plans. The lobby finishes won't hold up to that much foot traffic. What if we use the polymer sealant instead? More expensive up front, but lower maintenance long term, Nathan replied. His voice different from what I remembered. Less arrogant, more thoughtful. Good point. Make a note of that. I watched astonished as they continued discussing what appeared to be maintenance plans for a building. Nathan was dressed in clean but inexpensive clothes, a far cry from his former designer suits. He looked thinner, more weathered, but somehow more substantive. Thank you for this opportunity, William, Nathan said as they began gathering the plans. I know you're taking a risk. You've earned a chance to prove yourself. 6 months of honest work is a good start. But remember, this is just consulting work, temporary and on my terms. I understand. I'm grateful nonetheless. William paused, fixing Nathan with a penetrating stare. Have you thought more about what we discussed regarding your mother? Nathan's shoulders slumped slightly. Every day, but she made it clear she wants no contact. I've respected that, difficult as it's been. Actions have consequences, Nathan. Some bridges take a long time to rebuild, if they can be rebuilt at all. I know, what I did was unforgivable. Nothing is unforgivable, but forgiveness must be earned through sustained change, not momentary remorse. I slipped away before they could spot me, my mind reeling. William was giving Nathan consulting work? They were meeting in secret? And they had discussed me? Part of me felt betrayed by William. We were partners now, friends even, yet he was helping Nathan behind my back. But another part, a part I was reluctant to acknowledge, felt a flutter of hope. Nathan's words seemed genuine. His demeanor had changed. Was it possible he was truly learning from this experience? When I got home, I found a voicemail from Tyler. "Grandma, it's me. Can I ask you something important? Call me back when you can." I returned his call immediately. "Tyler, is everything okay?" "Yeah, everything's fine. I wanted to ask you something about Dad." My heart skipped. "What about him?" "He called yesterday. He sounded different. Better, I guess. He asked about you." "What did he say?" "He wanted to know if you were okay, if you were happy with how things were going with the company." "He didn't ask me to tell you anything. He just seemed like he genuinely cared." I sat down, unsure how to respond. "And what did you tell him?" "I told him you seemed good, that you and Grandpa William were doing great business together, that you take us to do fun things every Saturday." He paused. "Was that okay?" "Of course, Tyler. You can always tell your father the truth." "Grandma, do you think people can really change? Like fundamentally change who they are?" The question, so mature, so thoughtful, caught me off guard. "I believe people can change, Tyler, but it requires true self-awareness and sustained effort. It's not easy or quick. Dad told me he's working as a janitor, that he's learning what it's like to work hard for not much money. He said he wishes he had understood that before." That's good to hear, Tyler. "He also said he understands now why you did what you did, that you were right to teach him a lesson." Tyler's voice grew quieter. "Do you think you'll ever talk to him again?" I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of the question. "I don't know, Tyler. It's complicated. I think he misses you. He doesn't say it, but I can tell." After hanging up, I stood at my living room window, watching the sunset paint the Chicago skyline in shades of gold and pink. For the first time since that Christmas night, I allowed myself to think about Nathan not with anger or disappointment, but with cautious curiosity. Was he truly changing? Could he become someone I could respect again, not just as my son, but as a human being with integrity and humility? I didn't have answers yet. But Tyler's call had opened a door I had thought permanently closed. A small crack of light was shining through. December had returned to Chicago with its characteristic cold and Christmas lights, marking exactly 1 year since the night that had destroyed Nathan's life. As I walked through the illuminated streets after a late meeting, I stopped in front of decorated storefronts with happy family scenes that painfully reminded me of what had happened to our family. My transformation over these 12 months had been profound, but not in the ways I had expected. The initial satisfaction of seeing Nathan face consequences had gradually given way to something more complex, a blend of justice served and maternal concern that I couldn't entirely suppress. William and I had established a thriving partnership. Jackson Bennett Development was now one of Chicago's most prestigious firms, with projects spanning the city. Our complementary strengths had created a business synergy neither of us had anticipated. "The Wilson Tower proposal is ready for final review," Marcus told me as he placed a thick folder on my desk that morning. The client was particularly impressed with the sustainability elements. "Excellent. When is the presentation?" "Next Wednesday. William suggested we both attend." I nodded, still amazed at how seamlessly William and I had integrated our companies and working styles. At 72, he brought decades of experience and connections, while I contributed innovative approaches and a diverse management team. "By the way," Marcus added hesitantly, "the maintenance consultancy reports came in for the lakefront project." I looked up sharply. The maintenance consultancy was the euphemism we used for Nathan's work. Through subtle inquiries, I'd learned that William had hired Nathan as a consultant on building maintenance systems, an area where his janitorial experience provided unexpected insights. "And?" I kept my voice neutral. "They're excellent. Detailed, practical, cost-effective. Whoever wrote them understands both the technical aspects and the human elements of building maintenance. I knew exactly who had written them. Forward them to my email. I'll review them tonight. Later that evening, sitting in my study with a glass of wine, I carefully read through the reports. Nathan's work was indeed impressive, thoughtful, thorough, and grounded in real-world experience. He had identified inefficiencies in cleaning protocols, suggested ergonomic improvements for maintenance staff, and recommended sustainable materials that would reduce long-term costs. This wasn't the work of the entitled CEO I had known. This reflected someone who understood the value of every dollar, the dignity of physical labor, and the importance of practical solutions. Someone who had learned from hard experience. My phone rang, interrupting my thoughts. It was Emma. "Grandma, guess what? I got the lead in the school play." "That's wonderful, sweetheart. What's the play?" "A Christmas Carol. I'm playing the Ghost of Christmas Past." The irony wasn't lost on me. As Emma chattered excitedly about costumes and rehearsals, I found myself thinking about our own family's Christmas past and the ghost of what had happened that night a year ago. "The performances are December 22nd and 23rd, Emma continued. "You'll come, right?" "Of course I will, Emma. I wouldn't miss it for the world." I asked Dad, too, and he said he'd try to make it if his work schedule allows. A small silence fell between us. That's nice, Emma." "Is that okay, Grandma? That I asked Dad?" I took a deep breath. "Of course it's okay. He's your father. It's just, no one ever talks about you and Dad being in the same place, like it's not allowed or something." Out of the mouths of babes, Emma had articulated the unspoken boundary that had governed our fractured family for a year. "It's complicated, Emma, but your play is about you, not about adult problems. If your father can attend, that's good." After hanging up, I sat for a long time, contemplating what it would mean to be in the same room as Nathan after a year of complete separation. The thought both unsettled and intrigued me. The following Saturday, as Tyler helped me decorate my Christmas tree, a tradition we had maintained despite everything, he broached the subject more directly. "Grandma, about Emma's play. Dad's really nervous about seeing you." I paused, a crystal ornament suspended in my hand. "Has he said that?" "Yeah. He calls us twice a week now. He said he doesn't want to make you uncomfortable, but he really wants to see Emma's performance." "He should attend. Emma would be heartbroken if he didn't." Tyler hung a silver star carefully on a branch. "He's different now, you know. Really different." "In what way?" "He listens. Like, actually listens. Before, he was always checking his phone or thinking about something else when we talked. Now he remembers everything we tell him." I nodded, acknowledging the observation without commenting. "And he never complains," Tyler continued, "even though his life is way harder now. He lives in this tiny apartment that's smaller than our old bathroom, but he says he's grateful because it's his own place that he pays for himself." "That's good to hear, Tyler." "He got promoted at the cleaning company. He's like a supervisor now." Tyler hesitated, then added, "He asked about you again." "What did he ask?" "If you seemed happy, if the business was going well, if you ever mentioned him." I carefully placed another ornament on the tree. "And what did you tell him?" "I told him you seemed good, busy with work, that you never talk about him, but sometimes you get this look when something reminds you of him." I turned to face my grandson, surprised by his perceptiveness. "What look is that?" "Kind of sad, kind of thinking, like you're trying to figure something out." Out of all the complex emotions I'd experienced over the past year, I was struck that Tyler had detected the most fundamental one, the ongoing struggle to reconcile the son I had raised with the man who had pushed me to the floor, and the new person he was apparently becoming. "Your father and I have a complicated history, Tyler." I know, but history isn't the same as the future, right? Again, wisdom from a teenager that many adults never grasp. 2 weeks before Emma's play, William invited me to lunch at our usual Italian restaurant. After discussing several projects, he cleared his throat, signaling a shift to more personal territory. Evelyn, there's something I need to discuss with you. It's about Nathan. I set down my fork. What about him? As you know, he's been doing consulting work for us on maintenance systems. His contributions have been remarkable. I've read the reports. William looked surprised. You have? Of course. I review everything that impacts our projects. He nodded, a small smile playing on his lips. I should have known. Then you've seen the quality of his work. I have. It's impressive. The thing is, Evelyn, I've offered him a permanent position. I felt a jolt of surprise. What position? Director of Facilities Management. It's a new role I've created overseeing maintenance protocols for all our properties. Not an executive position. He'd report to operations, but a significant step up from consulting. I took a sip of water, using the moment to gather my thoughts. You're hiring my estranged son for a permanent position in our joint company without discussing it with me first? William had the grace to look uncomfortable. I wanted to be sure he was ready before bringing it to you. If you object, I'll withdraw the offer. And does Nathan know you're discussing this with me? Yes. In fact, he insisted that I get your approval. He said he wouldn't accept any position that might make you uncomfortable. That surprised me. The old Nathan would have grabbed the opportunity regardless of my feelings. What makes you think he's ready for this responsibility? William leaned forward. Evelyn, I've been meeting with Nathan weekly for nearly 6 months. I've watched him transform from an entitled, arrogant man into someone with genuine humility and work ethic. He's earned this opportunity through consistent performance and character growth. People don't change that fundamentally, William. With respect, I disagree. Profound hardship can transform people, if they're willing to learn from it. Nathan was stripped of everything he valued, money, status, family. He hit rock bottom. But instead of becoming bitter or trying to scheme his way back to prosperity, he accepted the consequences and rebuilt himself from scratch. I remained skeptical. And you believe this change is genuine, not just an act to regain position? I do. Consider this. He's had opportunities to take easier paths. Rebecca's parents offered him money several times. He refused. A competitor tried to hire him to gain information about our projects. He declined and informed me immediately. He's been working 60-hour weeks between his janitorial job and the consulting work, living in a tiny studio apartment, and never once complained. I absorbed this information silently. The position I'm offering is earned, Evelyn. It's not charity, and it's not at the executive level. It's a middle management role where his unique combination of business background and hands-on maintenance experience would be valuable. And if I say no? William spread his hands. Then the answer is no. I value our partnership far more than this single hiring decision. I studied William's face, searching for ulterior motives. Finding none, I said, I need time to think about this. Of course. Take all the time you need. That night I found myself unable to sleep, William's proposal weighing heavily on my mind. The business case was clear. Nathan's reports showed genuine insight into an area we needed to strengthen. But the personal implications were far more complex. Was I ready to have Nathan back in my professional orbit? Could I trust that his transformation was genuine and permanent? Would his presence reopen wounds that had finally begun to heal? Around 3 a.m., and I went to my study and pulled out a photo album I hadn't opened in months. Pictures of Nathan through the years, as a gap-toothed child, an earnest teenager, a proud college graduate. the son I had loved unconditionally. Where had that boy gone? And was it possible he was finding his way back, not to what he was, but to something better? Emma's play was scheduled for 7 p.m. on December 22nd. I arrived early, wanting to secure a good seat and mentally prepare myself for the possibility of seeing Nathan. The school auditorium was festively decorated, parents and siblings filing in with excited chatter. I spotted Rebecca near the front, saving seats. She waved, her greeting warmer than it had been in months. Over the year, our relationship had thawed considerably, especially after she witnessed the positive effect I had on the children. "Evelyn, I saved you a seat," she said, patting the chair beside her. "Thank you, Rebecca. Is Tyler already here?" "He's backstage helping Emma with her costume. He'll join us before it starts." I settled in, placing my purse on the empty seat beside me. "Is this seat taken?" Rebecca hesitated. "It's for Nathan. He's parking the car. I hope that's okay?" My heart rate quickened slightly. "Of course, it's Emma's night. We're all here for her." A few minutes later, Tyler slid into the row. "Emma's so nervous, but she knows all her lines perfectly." "I'm sure she'll be wonderful," I assured him. Then I saw him. Nathan stood at the end of the row, uncertainty written across his face. He looked so different from the man I remembered. Thinner, his face more weathered, dressed in a clean but inexpensive suit that hung slightly loose on his frame. His eyes met mine, a complex mixture of emotions passing between us. "Mom," he said simply, his voice barely audible over the audience's chatter. "Nathan," I nodded, keeping my expression neutral. He took the seat beside me, maintaining a respectful distance. "Thank you for allowing me to be here." "Emma wants you here. That's what matters tonight." We sat in awkward silence until the lights dimmed and the play began. Emma appeared as the ghost of Christmas past, her performance poignant and assured. I felt a surge of pride watching her, and a sharp awareness of Nathan beside me, experiencing the same emotion. During intermission, we both remained seated while Rebecca and Tyler went to get refreshments. The silence between us grew uncomfortable until Nathan finally spoke. "Your partnership with William has been remarkably successful. The Jackson Bennett projects are transforming the city skyline." "Yes, it's been a productive collaboration. I've been following the company's progress. The sustainability initiatives are particularly impressive." I turned slightly to face him. "William tells me you've been consulting on maintenance systems." He looked surprised. "You know about that?" "I review all reports that come through my company, Nathan." "And?" "Your work is thorough, insightful. It shows a practical understanding that was missing in your previous approach." A small smile touched his lips, not the arrogant smirk I remembered, but something more genuine. "Thank you. That means a lot coming from you." Before I could respond, the lights dimmed for the second act. As we watched the remainder of the play, I was acutely conscious of Nathan beside me, this familiar stranger who was my son. After the performance, we gathered in the lobby to wait for Emma. The awkwardness returned, amplified by the crowded space and festive atmosphere. "Grandma, Dad!" Emma came rushing toward us, still in her costume, her face glowing with excitement. "Did you see me? Was I okay?" "You were magnificent," I said, embracing her. "The best ghost of Christmas past ever," Nathan added, bending down to her level. Emma looked from me to Nathan, her eyes shining. "This is the first time you've both been in the same place since last Christmas." The innocence of her observation hung in the air, highlighting the elephant in the room. "Sometimes," I said carefully, "people need time apart to figure things out." "Are you figuring things out?" she asked hopefully. Before either of us could answer, she was called back by her drama teacher for cast photos. Nathan and I stood in awkward silence again until he spoke. William told me about the job offer. I want you to know that I won't accept it if you're not comfortable with the idea. I studied him carefully. Why should I be comfortable with it? You shouldn't, necessarily. I understand that. He took a deep breath. What I did to you was unforgivable. Not just the incident at Christmas, but years of taking your support for granted while betraying your trust. You had every right to cut me off completely. His candor surprised me. There was no defensiveness, no attempt to minimize what he had done. The last year has been, he continued, searching for words, educational. I've learned what it means to work for minimum wage, to worry about making rent, to be judged on my actual contributions rather than my family name. William says you've changed. I believe I have. But that's for others to judge, not me. He paused. For what it's worth, I'm grateful for what you did. Grateful? The word caught me off guard. Yes, you could have let me continue as I was, entitled, arrogant, disconnected from real value. Instead, you forced me to confront who I had become. It was the hardest lesson of my life, but also the most necessary. Before I could respond, Rebecca approached with Tyler. The moment for deeper conversation had passed, but Nathan's words lingered in my mind as we said our goodbyes. That night, I lay awake, replaying our brief interaction. The Nathan I had seen was indeed different, humbled, thoughtful, genuinely remorseful. But was it enough to rebuild the trust that had been so thoroughly shattered? And 3 days after the play, on Christmas morning, a messenger delivered an envelope to my door. Inside was a handwritten letter from Nathan, 12 pages of careful, thoughtful reflection. I sat in my study and began to read. Dear Mother, I know I have no right to address you as Mom anymore, and I respect your decision to cut ties with me. This letter doesn't seek forgiveness or reconciliation. I simply need to tell you what I've learned during this year that changed my life forever. For 42 years, I believed I deserved everything I had because I was your son. Now I understand that I deserve nothing simply for being born with privilege. Respect is earned through actions, not last names. Dignity comes from character, not bank accounts. The night I pushed you to the floor was the culmination of years of entitlement and disrespect. There is no excuse for what I did. It wasn't a mistake or a momentary lapse. It was a deliberate choice that revealed who I had become. I betrayed not just you, but the values you spent a lifetime trying to instill in me. This past year has been a profound education. Cleaning office buildings at night, I've learned what it means to earn every dollar through honest labor. Living in a shelter, then a tiny apartment, I've discovered the difference between necessities and luxuries. Working alongside immigrants, single parents, and students, I've gained respect for people I previously would have overlooked. Seeing you work with William taught me something fundamental. You never needed a CEO son. You needed a partner who respected you. And I was never able to be that because I was too busy feeling entitled to everything without having contributed anything of real value. Tyler and Emma have taught me more about emotional maturity in these 12 months than I taught them in their entire childhood. Their ability to maintain love for both of us despite my destructive behavior demonstrates the upbringing you gave them for years when I was too busy with my own ego to appreciate it. I am not writing expecting forgiveness. Forgiveness must be earned through years of consistent behavior, not pretty words on paper. Nor am I writing hoping you will change your decision about our relationship. I completely respect your choice and understand that it is just and necessary. I am writing so you know that your son is finally learning to be a real man. At 43, for the first time in my life, I am proud of who I am, not what I have. I work honestly. I live modestly. I genuinely love my children and deeply respect the people around me. If we never speak again, I want you to know that I became a better person because of the consequences you imposed, not in spite of them, but because of them. That is a more valuable gift than any material inheritance. You gave me the opportunity to discover my own worth separate from your achievements and your generosity. Thank you for being the mother I never knew I needed, strong enough to let me fall when necessary, wise enough to protect my children from my mistakes, and just enough to treat me exactly as I deserved to be treated. With deep respect and eternal gratitude, your son who is finally growing up, Nathan. I read the letter 3 times, each reading revealing new layers of reflection. This wasn't a hastily written apology or a manipulative attempt to regain favor. It was a thoughtful accounting of lessons learned and genuine gratitude for hard consequences. For the first time since that Christmas night, I felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness exactly, but a willingness to consider that Nathan might truly have changed in fundamental ways. I set the letter aside and walked to the window, watching snow begin to fall over Chicago. A year ago, I had been consumed with righteous anger and the determination to teach my son a harsh lesson. Now I found myself contemplating what healing might look like. Not a return to what was, but perhaps the beginning of something new. After much reflection, I took out a sheet of my personal stationery and wrote a brief response. Nathan, I received your letter and have read it several times. I am glad to know that you are well and that you are growing as a person. That growth is exactly what I had hoped would happen. I am not ready to resume a personal relationship, and perhaps I never will be. But I want you to know that I am proud of the man you are choosing to become. Stay on that path. Regarding William's job offer, I have no objection. You have earned the opportunity through merit and consistent performance. The position will be evaluated like any other in the company, on results and contribution. Evelyn, it wasn't forgiveness, but it was acknowledgement. It wasn't reconciliation, but it was an opening. For now, that was all I could offer. In January, Nathan began his new role as Director of Facilities Management at Jackson Bennett Development. Our interactions remained strictly professional, brief exchanges in meetings, formal emails about project details. We maintained a careful distance, both personally and professionally, that respected the boundaries I had established. The children were delighted by this small thaw in relations. Though Nathan and I weren't back to being mother and son in any meaningful sense, the toxic tension had dissipated. Dad says he sees you sometimes at work, Tyler mentioned during one of our Saturday visits. He says you're really impressive in meetings. That's nice to hear. I kept my response neutral. Do you think you guys will ever be normal again? Emma asked with the directness only a child can muster. I don't think we'll return to how things were before, Emma, but perhaps we'll find a new normal eventually. As winter gave way to spring, I observed Nathan's work from a distance. He excelled in his role, bringing innovative approaches to facilities management that saved the company significant money while improving working conditions for maintenance staff. He remained humble, worked diligently, and earned the respect of colleagues who knew nothing of our personal history. In March, we found ourselves alone in the elevator after a late meeting. The awkward silence was broken by Nathan. The Parkside proposal was approved. Congratulations. Thank you. Your input on the maintenance systems was valuable. He nodded, then hesitated before speaking again. Emma's birthday is next month. She's asked for a family dinner, everyone together. I told her it was her decision, but that I would understand if you preferred not to attend. The elevator seemed to slow as I considered my response. When and where? April 15th. Rebecca suggested Giordano's. Emma loves their pizza. I'll be there. Relief flickered across his face. Thank you. It will mean the world to her. The elevator doors opened and we parted ways without further conversation. As I walked to my car, I reflected on how far we had come in 15 months, from total estrangement to cautious coexistence. Not healing exactly, but perhaps the prerequisite for it. Emma's birthday dinner was predictably awkward at first. Rebecca's parents, William and his wife Nathan, the children, and me, all seated around a large table, hyper-conscious of the history that hung in the air. But Emma's joy at having everyone together slowly melted the tension. By the time the pizza arrived, conversation had begun to flow more naturally. William discussed baseball with Tyler. Rebecca and I compared notes on Emma's upcoming school events. Nathan spoke quietly with Rebecca's mother about a charity project she was organizing. As I watched Nathan across the table, attentive, respectful, genuinely engaged, I was struck by how completely he had transformed. The arrogant, entitled man who had pushed me to the floor was gone, replaced by someone more substantial, more authentic. When it came time for gifts, Emma opened mine first, a silver locket containing photos of her and Tyler. "It's beautiful, Grandma. I love it." She immediately put it on, fingering the delicate chain with delight. Nathan's gift was a handmade scrapbook documenting Emma's life from birth to 13. "I made it myself," he explained as she turned the pages in wonder. "The photos came from old albums, but I did all the layouts and captions." "You made this, Dad? When did you have time?" "I worked on it at night after my shifts, a little bit each day for the past few months." The care and thought evident in the gift spoke volumes about his changed priorities. The old Nathan would have bought an expensive present at the last minute. This Nathan had invested time, creativity, and personal effort. As the evening wound down, I found myself standing next to Nathan as we waited for the valet to bring our respective cars. "Thank you for coming tonight," he said quietly. "It meant everything to Emma. She's a special girl. You've done well with her, despite everything." He shook his head slightly. "I can't take much credit. You and Rebecca have been their real anchors this past year." "You're showing up for them now. That matters." A small silence fell between us, not entirely uncomfortable. "The Jackson Bennett Foundation launches next month," I said, referring to the charitable organization William and I had established. "We're focusing on vocational training for underserved communities." "I've seen the materials. It's an impressive initiative. We need someone to head the facility's maintenance training program, someone who understands both the technical aspects and the human elements." I met his eyes directly. "Would you be interested?" Surprise registered on his face. "Are you offering me a position with the foundation?" "A volunteer position initially. 3 evenings a week, teaching basic maintenance skills to shelter residents and at-risk youth." Understanding dawned in his eyes. This wasn't just a professional opportunity. It was a personal one, a chance to give back, to help others who were where he had been. "I would be honored," he said simply. As my car arrived, I turned to go, then paused. "Nathan?" "Yes?" "Emma's play last Christmas, A Christmas Carol. There's a line in it that's been on my mind, about how people can change." "I am not the man I was," Nathan quoted softly. "Yes, that one." Our eyes met in a moment of perfect understanding. Neither of us was who we had been a year ago. The painful lessons, the hard consequences, the long months of separation, they had changed us both. My car door was held open by the valet. "Good night, Nathan." "Good night, Mom." I didn't correct him. It wasn't forgiveness, not entirely, but it was a beginning. A recognition that while some bridges take a long time to rebuild, the work can start with a single plank laid across the divide. As I drove home through the Chicago night, I reflected on the journey of the past year. Nathan had lost everything: his job, his home, his marriage, his relationship with me. But in losing it all, he had found something more valuable: his true self, his character, his dignity. And I had learned something too, that sometimes the greatest act of love is allowing someone to face the consequences of their actions, that justice and mercy aren't opposites, but partners in the difficult work of growth and transformation. The family we had been was gone forever, but perhaps the family we might become would be stronger, more authentic, built on earned respect rather than obligatory bonds. It wouldn't be easy. Trust, once broken, mends slowly. But as I watched the city lights reflect off Lake Michigan, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't experienced since that fateful Christmas night. Sometimes it takes falling to the floor to finally stand on solid ground. If you liked this story, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done in Evelyn's place? Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members? Let us know in the comments below. To hear another story about family relationships, click on the box on the left. For a story about starting over after losing everything, click on the right. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the hardest lessons teach us the most important truths.